Good morning, good morning. This is Caesar, a martial artist, photographer, and a dad. This is a special time for me because this will be a first ever. I'm gonna interview I considered one of the best photographers I met, learn from, and understand how his style of photography influenced my style of photography at the same time. He's a good friend of mine, Mr. David Tovey. Good morning, my man.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Caesar. Lovely to see you.
Great to see you again, my good friend. Before we start, any activities that you've been doing? I know it's a pandemic and a lockdown. Any photography or drawing activities you're going to be doing soon or displays?
Well, interestingly, the photography took a back seat in its normal sense of outdoor landscape and portrait work and so on. Of course, all the functions stopped. There's no weddings or parties or whatever to do social photography for. So it's a choice really of photographing everything in the house and the garden, macro shots of the plants and things like that. But I really then, because I do drawing and painting as well, and that's really what's come to the fore during this period, where I'm taking photographs, some of mine, some that other people have supplied me, and then drawing from those. So I'm actually converting them to artworks. And now we're coming up to our Christmas season. I'm getting commissions for Christmas gifts.
Wow, that's nice.
So people's pets, their dog.
Hey, that's great.
Yay! So I get sent photographs of 5 or 6 pictures of someone's dog.
Wow.
And say, can you do me a drawing? I go, yeah, of course I can.
You're good at it, man. You're good.
Yeah, I don't try and do hyperreal or anything like that. It's impressionistic.
Yeah, I know. I saw
So
it.
as long as I get the essence right, it's a bit Caesar, isn't it? Like when you photograph people, if you get the eyes right, then nothing else matters.
Yeah, sharp. Yeah.
With the pet portrait, if I can get the pet's eyes spot on, I can make a mess of the rest of the picture, but it looks right.
Yeah, but it makes you alive. That photo will make it alive.
Exactly, yeah. That's where the life comes from.
Yeah. Oh, we could start though. Can you give us a good background of your photography?
Where it all started.
Where it all started. Yeah.
Oh, Caesar, it started before you were born.
Oh my God, I would love to hear it. I love to hear it.
And I was brought up in India, and before anything digital had ever been invented. So we were at that time, it was film cameras, mostly slide film, because you didn't have to worry about printing and so on. And my introduction to photography was on our trip back home to England after my father's term in India had finished. So I'd be about 10 years old, and I inherited my brother's box brownie. I don't know if you know box brownies.
Yeah, yes.
But this is it.
Oh, wow, you still have it. Oh, that's nice.
Okay, so this is a Kodak Brownie 127.
Wow.
And literally, this is as basic as it gets.
That's a treasure, man.
Yeah, you can look portrait, landscape, and all you do is click that and you've taken a picture.
Yeah.
But the difficulty with it, of course, was that I was 10 and had no idea what I was doing. Apart from it was fun having a box brownie. And I had 12 exposures. And the 12 exposures had to last the trip from Italy across Europe back home to England.
Wow. That's a lot.
So I didn't take many pictures. And many of those that I did take were double or triple exposures because I forgot to wind the film on. And that was,
at least you already had your art.
Exactly, yeah. And being 127, of course, what one did was you did a contact print or got contact prints. So there it was a sort of cheap black and white contact printing. And that was my first introduction. It was kind of a flirtation with it. I enjoyed it and so on. And then following that, it was the 1970s, I would have been, when I went to Polytechnic to study print technology. And printing at that time was entering the point where you were making printing plates using photographic processes. So instead of being hot metal, it was becoming flat, plain surfaces with light resists and so
Mm.
on, that gave you different images. And from that, the lecturers were teaching us the needs for what a good image would be for printing.
Okay.
So you need the full tonal range, you need detail in all the highlights, you need something, otherwise you can't print the image. So all these constraints were given to us, and then the challenge was put to us students to go and take a photograph and then make a print from it, and using a printing process, not photographic printing, but we had to print the print in the first place, if you follow that logic. And I went out to the second-hand camera shop with what's left of my student grant at the time and bought cheap second-hand Konica with 2 lenses.
Oh yeah, the reflex one.
Yeah, and then I wandered the streets of Nottingham just wondering what to photograph, and that was my first foray into street photography.
All right.
Yeah, and it actually has ended up being one of my most popular pictures. I'll show you that there.
Oh yeah, that one. Oh,
see this chap?
Yeah. What magazine was it? Oh,
this was an internal one from a paper company.
Oh, okay, nice.
And I won a competition with that in this, but the print itself, it was kind of a strange experience doing street photography, in that I felt I was invading, even in those days, being intrusive. Someone minding their business, I'm sneaking up, taking picture. I'm this long-haired, ugly, untidy student with a camera, sneaking up behind people, taking their pictures. And
that's how the artist starts.
I was just too embarrassed to ask. I was just too shy to ask people to pose for me. So that was my first foray into it. My landlord was very kind at the time, student landlord, and he let me set up a dark room in my room.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So I was playing with chemicals and printing pictures, and it really got the most exciting part, I think, was the chemistry and the alchemy and the playing with enlargers and things and producing images.
Those are the things that other young photographers, I consider myself old now, so those younger millennial photographers who won't understand and appreciate printing, how valuable printing is, how we play around with the formulas and everything. They wouldn't understand that. It's Photoshop and everything nowadays. So they don't realize how they need. For me, it's for them to understand first the basics before jump in.
Yeah.
That's my opinion, though.
You're right. I mean, the discipline of having just one film type in your camera.
Yeah, that's true.
Black and white 400 ISO, that's it.
Yeah, that's the one. And you play around with it.
Yeah. If you've got a color slide film in, you're stuck with the speed and the color temperature.
Yeah, that's the thing.
And from that, you have to make the best of it.
That's true.
So it really was a very different mindset, of course.
I know, yeah.
And the expense of everything meant you didn't take many pictures. You thought every picture through before you took it.
Yeah, it's true.
Even when you're doing sort of accidental, unplanned photography, it was thought about. Because each time you press that shutter, it was another £2 or £3 or whatever. I haven't got that money. I haven't got the money.
That's true.
So following on with the black and white film transparencies, when I had my first job in Colchester, my boss at the time said, "Oh, David, you're a photographer. I want you to photograph an award ceremony for the company."
Wow.
And I thought, whoa, this is good. And he was going to pay me to do it and so on.
Wow.
And without a word of a lie, Caesar, I went there, I took the pictures, I took 36 pictures, the 36 film roll, image roll. And by the time I was still winding on, because sometimes you get a few more frames, by the time I hit 42, I knew something was wrong.
That's too much already.
I know. And it turned out that the film hadn't been winding on at all. I could hear it, but the sprockets had split. And so all of us going...
Yeah.
each time I wound it.
Yeah, that's good.
And I hadn't taken one single picture.
Ooh, wow.
I know. So I don't know if you also recall, and they're all long gone now, so I can say this. But do you recall when you sent films off for developing in those days? They often got lost.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, I just couldn't believe it. All my pictures got lost somewhere in the post.
Oh
As
my God.
I'm sorry, they've all got lost. I don't know what to do.
There you go. That's the best
so
way
that
to
was
get
that
out of
one.
it.
I know. And then I got hired to photograph a troupe of dancers.
Mm.
This is following an exhibition I put on, and these dancers used the same venue.
Mhm.
And they said, would you come and photograph us? So
Oh.
brilliant fun, great. So I'd got my flash gun on the camera, a couple of spare flashes on remotes.
Mhm.
And I hadn't realized, because I'd got no experience in those days, that the flash would drive straight through their clothing.
Oh, really? It's all
Yeah,
turned
exactly.
white.
Everything they were wearing underneath their clothing was showing through, or not wearing.
Yeah, yeah.
And that was a disaster, because that took me hours and hours and hours in the dark
In the
room,
dark room, yeah. To
dodging, burning, masking.
Yeah.
I thought I got good pictures for them in the end, but it's always unplanned stuff that I now, when people come and say to me, I'm going to go do a wedding, David, what's your best hints?
Mhm.
I thought, well, you don't just go and do a wedding. This is like me 40 years back going to photograph a dance troupe, not knowing what I was doing.
Mhm.
It's just wrong. You
That's
need,
true.
you
That's
need
very
a
true.
mentor, you need training, you need
Yeah.
someone to show you what to do.
That's
So
very
I learned
true.
that the hard way, and I lost all my confidence doing the commercial stuff.
Mm.
But I did do a couple of exhibitions which went down well, printed the pictures myself, and got some some framed pictures into a local store,
Mhm.
which sold. But in those days, the quality that was acceptable was a lot lower than it is now,
Of course, yeah.
you know, but it was good for those days. And then it wasn't until 2007, I think it was, that digital came along, or into my life.
Mhm.
And I then felt brave enough, because I could review pictures on the back of the camera
True.
and know I'd actually got a shot, and I knew what it would be like.
That's the great part.
I
Yeah.
could change the ISO, I can change the color, I can do all sorts of things, which means that for social photography and weddings, it's fantastic,
That's very
because
true.
you know you've got the shot. You know, it doesn't matter if it's daylight, fluorescent, tungsten, you can do things.
Everything's there.
It's all there for you. It's like a dream. And so a colleague of mine at work told me that I was going to photograph her wedding. So it's very brave of her.
Mhm.
And that was really where I said, okay, I'm going to do this. And my mission at the time, bear in mind, Caesar, at the time, a 1 gigabyte storage, compact disc storage for the camera.
Yeah, I
put in the
remember
camera,
that one. Yeah, yeah.
about £150
Mhm. That's a lot.
for 1 gigabyte.
Imagine
You know, it was
how many
expensive territory taking
True.
digital pictures.
that time. Yeah, that really was.
The gear was very expensive. Then,
What was your first one? Was it this Canon already all throughout?
Canon.
Yeah, you're a Canon guy. I know
After the
that.
Konica, I went Canon, and I stayed Canon.
Yeah.
And you get, I suppose it's like driving a car. If you drive a particular make of car, everything's in the same place. You know where it's from one car to
Yeah.
another.
That's
Much the same with the Canon cameras. You just got a feel for them. And so I did Debbie's wedding for her in 2007. And I thought, well, okay, this means that I can earn money from photography as well as my daytime job. And I can then buy more kit.
Mhm.
I can fund the hobby and
Enjoy at the same time.
enjoy the hobby and
And
fund
earn
it,
from it.
earn from it. And that's really where the social photography took off. And I accepted that I was not a good landscape photographer, but I could do people.
Oh, come on, you're humble. I saw.
Yeah, but you know, we all get genres that we're good at or enjoy doing.
That's quite true. That's quite true.
And I don't have the patience for landscape or product photography, but I do have the patience for people.
People, yeah.
and I can enjoy that interaction
You're a
and my
people person,
response.
that's why.
Yeah.
You're a people person, that's why.
And I think for me, the photography is a way of talking with a person,
Mhm.
in another way of having a conversation, because
Yeah.
you can have license to go and talk to all sorts of strangers, people you'd never meet normally at a
Mhm.
wedding or a function. You have your badge, you have your camera, you can enter a group that you'd never ever go into before,
And they will smile
and
at you.
smile and make friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is fantastic. So that's really where the photography got to. And then these last 5 years or so, I think with the huge advancements in technology of the gear and of what the customers expect from the videographer or the photographer, it really knocked the spirit out of me. I'd made enough money to pay for everything, to buy a new kit, to then find it was all redundant. I had to buy it all over again, the
Yeah.
newer model, whatever it might be. And I thought, the spirit of it's now going. I'm not enjoying this. And then I still do weddings for friends on request, so that still carries on. But the final sort of commercial one I did, the couple wanted their photographs the same evening.
Okay.
Okay, which is not how I work. I
That's
don't work that way. I take my pictures, I'll give it my all during the day. I'll probably leave the venue at midnight.
Mhm.
I'm not going to sit up and do all their pictures. That's
Wow.
not how it works in my world.
Yeah,
But
that's true.
that's what they wanted. And they wanted the video, they wanted this, they wanted that, because it all had to get on social media immediately and whatever. And I really thought, I'm too old for this. This isn't my style. So it's taken a back seat. So I'm not taking far fewer pictures these days.
Okay. But you did mention to me about one of your photos. But what is your most memorable wedding photo that you could say? Because you sent me a flower, isn't it? That one, is that the?
Oh, the most it's strange, isn't it? That the photographs which I go out to try and get a winning picture, I get terrible criticism for, and then the accidental ones win.
So sometimes you ask yourself, isn't it?
I know. So the picture I've had the most success in competition with is one of a single carnation in a vase.
Yeah. So that's
And I've got a print of it here, which I'll hold up.
yeah. Oh yeah. That's the one. Yeah.
Can you see that one?
Yeah. At first, I thought you drew it, and didn't realize it was a picture.
That's a photograph, and it looks. It does look like a painting. It looks painterly. And what also surprised me, a lot of people look at it and assume it was taken by a woman.
I know. It's always
got a feminine touch to it. It's got an
really
appeal
nice.
across.
Where are you talking?
And that literally was, Van and I were out one day walking through a venue with my little compact camera, probably no bigger than this little thing. And I thought, oh, that looks nice. Turned around, snapped a picture, walked off. No thought apart from the composition. And then when we got home and I'm looking at it, I thought, actually, that's really rather good. And it's won me probably the most accolades and the most praise.
Yeah.
But the thing about competition, I did enter competitions and I got them pictures published, such as this one.
Oh yeah,
and
that one.
The Man. I've won this simple picture of Knoll Park up there.
Oh yeah, okay.
So I won this camera.
Oh,
this camera here, which I then sold to my sister-in-law.
That's a good one.
That's a good plan.
Yeah.
And so I did that sort of thing. I also, for a few years, entered the Taylor Ressing Portrait Prize
I heard of it,
competition with what I thought were my best portraits that I was really, really proud of. And the only thing I succeeded in doing was wasting my money. Because they charge quite a high.
I think we all did that one. We all those who had that kind of mistake. Keep on competing and spending.
Oh, and all this money is going out, and I have to do really, really high quality prints, get them there by courier, and just to find that someone famous has won the prize instead of me.
There you go.
Not that I'm bitter or anything, but if I had within my retinue of models someone like Donald Trump, I would probably win the prize. But an unknown model on the Isle of Sheppey is not going to get me any prize.
No, that's quite true though. That's quite
Yeah. So I also apart from the potential for publicity and getting people to know about you through competition, I don't find competition to be motivating.
Oh, okay. Well, that's quite a surprise. Really?
Yeah, I actually find it the opposite. I'll enjoy seeing the images, but I think I've been like this all through my life, that people competing at different levels with each other, there's a deal of unfairness about it, inevitably. There's a deal of preconceived perceptions going on.
That's true.
And when your work doesn't fit the mold or the criteria, then even you put something in that you think I've thought of any distractions. Am I on the rule of thirds? Have I got tonal contrast? Have I got eye contact? Have I got this? Is there a hand in the picture? No, good, I'll put that one in. All these things, and you still get told there's too much sky, or there's this, or there's that. And you
never win to a judge. You never win with a judge. You never win with them.
You never win with portraits. And so I'm finding, well, it's a lie. Sometimes I do. But portraiture seems to be a bit of a poor bedfellow for competition. And that's my genre, is where I work. And I can't really put in wedding pictures because they're commissioned ones. It just kind of knocks the spirit and stuffing out of me to try and come up with things.
Yeah, I understand how it feels.
Yeah, but there are many people who find that they thrive on competition.
They enjoy it.
They enjoy it. They create just for competition. That's brilliant. Go do that, because that's what they enjoy doing. But it kind of it's an odd thing. If I were to go down to somewhere with a friend of mine in Moat Park and we do a photo shoot and I say, right, this is for a competition. It's not actually. I'm doing it because I really like the person. They like me. We're having a good time. We're generating nice images. And that's where the fun comes from for me, anyway.
That's very true. Because sometimes you tell them that, oh, this is going to be a competition. It's like you're starting to draw. You started to draw things now that in one because of the requirements and everything that you have to follow.
The drawing season, that kind of happened because I probably like you, when you're out with family or going for a walk, you're the guy with the camera. It's always at the back because you found something to take a picture of.
That's true.
Yeah, and see, you're not keeping up. You come home with 100 pictures from a day out that you never look at again. And you thought, well, what a terrible waste of time that was. And so I after about two years of not having time to go through all the photographs I'd taken on every trip we did, I ended up deleting to make room on my computer. Actually, it's just a vacuum. I'm filling a vacuum with incidental images of something that don't mean terribly much. And so my wife Valerie, she said, well, why don't you draw instead? Okay. And you think about it, before photography, travelers, even someone on holiday, would sit and paint.
Yeah,
that's how they got their memories, you see. And so this was June 2017. This was my little pocketbook. This is where it started. And everywhere we went, that was my very first drawing.
Yeah, that's really nice.
From Wisley.
And you didn't have any formal training with drawing, isn't it?
No.
Wow.
No, this is, and I use a pen and then I use watercolor.
Wow.
And then every time I went out, I came home with one drawing.
Wow. I'm surprised because I thought when you start doing this drawing, you went in a school, then start, okay, I want to do this now as a drawing, another level of art. I didn't realize you just start drawing, that's all.
Just started, and I mean these are my first
Oh.
ones. They're very naive, and they're a bit embarrassing actually, because they're,
But it looks
but
really good to me.
it is what I saw and what I did. And so we our summer holiday, every day I would do at least one or two
Mm,
drawings of the
okay.
places we visited, and it had the you probably know that I was ill with bowel cancer
Yeah,
just
yeah,
before
yeah,
that
yeah.
time, and I wanted to slow down. Valerie wanted to slow down, and this was perfect, Caesar, because it meant that you could go somewhere and you'd have a reason to sit for 2 hours
Yeah, relax and
and
enjoy.
just relax and draw. And it wasn't the kind of need to fill that time with activity
Mhm.
active. You didn't need to, because you were fulfilling the time by
Yeah,
drawing.
no
And it
rush.
acted as, yeah, so it was therapeutic,
Yeah.
and it also meant I didn't come home with 100 pictures a day to edit. And so from there, the drawing is extended to um, rather better quality art. Now, most of my landscape is what's called plein air, which is fancy French for outdoor painting.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah,
learned something here.
but I paint. You think I paint on plein air, which means I paint outside.
All right.
But the premise is that rather than take a
It
picture,
sounds
photograph,
posh, so that's
yeah,
great.
you, you're actually sitting there in the environment with your pen, with your pad. If it rains, it rains. If it's sunny, it's sunny. But you've got to complete your painting on the day in the
Mm.
situ you're in.
Yeah, so this has been an old style of painting, isn't it?
Yes.
Outside,
Yeah.
enjoying the
Yeah.
sun or whatever weather it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's nice.
So in a way, I've reverted. And the other joy of it, of course, is that I can leave out what I don't want to be in there.
Hmm.
Which, so if I'm photographing a building and there's whole loads of parked cars in front of it, I've got a problem. But if I draw it, I just leave the cars out and I invent the bits where the cars aren't.
It works.
It works.
It
And
works.
if a tree's in the wrong place, I can shift the tree along and
which
all sorts of things.
which is really good without doing photography.
It is. It is. It is. It is very satisfying.
Yeah, I know.
So that's now extended to because of lockdown. This year, it's meant that I couldn't go out to either take pictures or to draw, and I just got myself into pictures hung in a pub in Yalding and in another venue in
Yeah,
Earl Street in Maidstone,
yeah, supposed to go there. Yeah, I remember that
the
one.
Living Cafe. So I've got my work hung locally, and I was booked into exhibitions and art shops in the Thanet area. So I was building up a portfolio of local scenes,
Mhm.
because people tend to want to or relate to, and then they would buy a scene they know,
Mhm.
somewhere they like, means something to them. I can't really sell a picture of a factory in Yorkshire to someone who lives in Kent, because it doesn't mean anything to them,
Yeah.
unless I'm Larry. So I was trying to build this all up, and of course that stopped. So I can't do that. So the work I've been doing lately has been from photographs,
Okay.
either my own or people have
Okay.
sent to me,
Okay.
and I'll do a portrait of their house or the dog or the cat, for
Oh,
example, or their parrot. So it's work like that, and it's really
nice.
great fun.
I know. I know.
And I'm not trying to.
Yeah. You mentioned your combination of drawing and photography. I know even though it's pandemic, I know you're also busy with all of your activities. Uh, for last question, before we go to our last question, I remember when we first met in Parkwood. Were you a guest judge that time, or?
Oh no, Parkwood. Gosh, how long ago was that, Caesar?
I know, 2000.
Good
I
time.
think something like that. Yeah.
Excuse me.
2007.
No, I joined Parkwood. A friend of mine had gone to Parkwood as a member,
Mhm.
and then got in touch with me and said, "Dave, this is a good active club with people who are doing commercial photography with lots of knowledge, and they're going to share and blah blah. So I joined as well. So it was Ian and myself joined together.
Yeah, I remember Ian. Yeah, yeah.
And we had a good time. But that kind of was when my work got overwhelming, or my
Oh,
working hours, and it
yeah.
just became pretty impossible to keep everything going. Because I was working away from home a lot, and to get back and do
So much
more
time.
photography and competitions and all that work became a bit more of a burden than I wanted it to be.
Not enjoying it.
So I kind of gave up with club photography for a while.
Yeah.
It's not a question of whether I could get any more out of it, but
The
it
time.
was and becoming a bit more of what the clubs wanted to get out of me,
That's
because you kind of get the feeling that people recognize somebody who's could be useful
that's
on
very
committee or whatever. No, I just want to be
enjoy
leave me alone.
yeah.
I just want to be a
Enjoy with
person.
that, yeah.
Yeah. So I kind of became a refugee from camera clubs for a while because it was getting a lot of work to do.
It's true.
I'm now I've been on guest for several camera clubs, and what I've been doing this last year or two is, together with some models that I know and work with frequently, we do model portrait evenings.
Oh, okay,
So,
all right.
you know, so I'll be going to a camera club with a couple of models
Those, yeah.
with 2 lighting sets, and these are people that I work with well enough to know that I can leave them to it, and they will work with the photographers and so on.
You know how to what they're doing, yeah.
They know how to work. So I facilitate, they do the photography, everyone has a good time. And in that, so I've been doing those.
Yeah,
I'm also doing some talks for photography, for photographic clubs.
Yeah.
So currently I'm doing a talk this next week on a trip to Namibia for a local camera club.
Wow.
And that's taken me all of yesterday to get right, because I've done it twice before, and this time is going to be an even better version.
Are you going to travel there? Are you going to travel there?
Well, we went to Namibia 14 years ago, I think it was, or there, but probably not that long. I very seldom go out of England these days. So a trip like that is very, very different, and it's different for me in that I don't know if you know Namibia, I didn't really, but there's hardly anyone there.
Really? Wow.
There's only about 6 people per square mile.
Wow, that's quite.
Yeah,
you can shout.
I know.
Nobody's gonna hear you.
For a people photographer, there's nothing to do. It's just it's all landscape.
Landscape, yeah. I was
it is
about it too.
And it's fantastic landscape. So for me, the talk really is about my my mental journey and the physical journey. So here I am faced with heat, dust storm, freezing cold, terrible lighting, no electricity to recharge your batteries.
Ooh, yeah.
Dust all over your sensors. Now what you're going to do? How are you going to take a decent picture? That's that
adventure of it, isn't it?
Yeah, so that's one talk, and I'm doing another one on a trip back to India that I did.
Oh, okay, all right.
It's on the anniversary. It's 100th anniversary of the hospital my parents worked at.
Oh, okay.
So it's our trip back there, and I'm now working on tutorials and portrait lighting and that kind of presentation to offer again. But I'm not on any KCPA list of guest lecturers. This really is people who know me, know what I do, and say, "Can you do something for our club?"
That's how it works.
Yeah,
doesn't need to be KCPA. No, yeah. Sometimes people would say, "Are you part of the KCPA?" or "What rank you had there?" But people who knows how you work, it's a different story.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Yeah, that's right.
And I think also it's like anything in life. If you don't do it too frequently, it's still fun.
That's true.
Still exciting. And I think if I were guest lecturing once or twice a week, it would stop being fun.
I know.
It would just become, oh, what, really? Got to do that again?
It's nice though because I remember when we first met, I was it Glenn who tapped me on my back, said somebody wants to meet you. I was like, ooh, what did I do? When I saw you, I was like, wow. See, I know one time you, maybe twice you've been to Parkwood. That's why I already know you. And I keep hearing you talking with them, and this guy's good. He's from the film.
Yeah, I've helped, Darren Walway.
Mhm.
I've helped him a couple of times with his demonstrations at Parkwood as well.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so
No,
that was good.
that's really nice. It was good because we never had a chance to collaborate. Isn't it? I mean, supposed to be we're planning long time ago to a model shoot, isn't it? But
We were going to, weren't we?
yeah, you're busy and I know things when yeah, before I know you're so busy, even though today it's not really a walking about. Um, last one question. Your tips and advice for millennials or starting photography, whatever age they are. Your photography tips and also suddenly start drawing. What tips that you would share to everybody?
It is a very good question, and not one I'd thought about till you asked me it. And the I think the answer depends upon which level you want to be a photographer or be an artist. And as a photographer, the modern technology or really does a lot of the work for you. So I think if I was starting with photography, I could delude myself very quickly I was a good photographer because the kit's giving me stunning results. The phone pictures are better than my DSLR ones and so on. But the key really is if you don't understand what it is you're doing, you don't understand the basics of what's happening in your device, how you can influence it, and then how you can influence the composition, then your photography won't move on. But I do also offer tuition for people with their cameras, because so many people will buy a camera, me included, and the manual is, I don't know, 300, 400, 600 pages.
Yeah. this thick.
Yeah, and you get past the easy start, and that's it. You've lost the will to live. It's and I think it's a bit like the human brain. They say there's only about 20% of the brain we actually use. The rest of it's there doing something, but we don't know what it is. And it's the same with cameras. And I've got functions on my cameras I've never ever gone near. I've never used them, but I do know about manual exposure. I know about lenses and apertures and speeds and so on. Sometimes I forget, but I do know them. In the heat of the moment, I can quite forget to change the film speed or something. But many people come to me and say, I bought this posh camera, I bought this, I don't know how to use it. I said, okay, why don't you start with opening the manual? Oh no, that's too difficult. So, I get them to email me their camera model. I'll look up the manual. I'll work out which buttons they've got to use for auto exposure, for aperture priority, all these things. We have a 2-hour face-to-face session before COVID with their camera. We do test pictures. A week later, I'll say, how are you getting on? Dave, I can't remember a thing you told me.
Yeah.
And I've given it to them in writing. They've experienced it, they practice. But if you're approaching photography and art, if you don't practice every single day, if you don't get that camera out every day, play with all the buttons, take pictures of your feet in front of the telly, doesn't matter, just take pictures till it becomes intuitive and your hands know what to do. So it becomes a reaction as opposed to
body, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's the same with painting, Caesar, that and drawing. If you do it often enough, then your brain stops thinking about what should my hand do now. It's just a reaction.
Yeah, it's automatic.
Yeah, you see something and the brain links from the eye through the arm to the hand to the brush or to the camera, and whatever you wanted to happen happens.
Mhm.
Because I find the biggest hindrance to taking good picture is in being intimidated by your kit.
That's true. Which a lot of people are. Which is a
Yeah,
lot.
and intimidated by lighting, intimidated by this or that. So my top tips are to practice, to know your camera and to practice, to use available light, whatever that might be. I'm a big fan of available light because it's the only light you've got.
That's
So
true.
use it, learn how to use it.
It's the free
And then
one.
I think also you need to be a little bit focused about what it is you want to achieve.
Mhm.
The common pitfall for a lot of us, both in photography and art, is to keep changing direction.
Yeah.
So you might wake up one morning and say, "Oh, that's a great tree. I'll go and photograph trees." And then the next day it's a fungus, and then the next day
You
it's
don't
a
know what to do.
gatepost.
There's so many
Yeah,
things to do.
so much. You're all over the place. And are you doing macro? Are you doing landscape? Are you doing this? And there's no mistaking why the top photographers and the top artists practice, practice, practice. The same genre, the same view. They'll go back to the same view. They'll do it daylight, nighttime, morning, afternoon. Practice. They'll work out what's happening with the light, with the seasons, with all sorts of things. And it's the patience. I lack a lot of that patience. I'd admit to it.
Yeah.
I think we all do. We don't have the time. We have family. We've got all sorts of things interfering with the process. But you really need to be so focused that if selfish is the wrong word, it's kind of what I mean. You're focused on yourself and what you want to achieve
Mhm.
for whatever period that might be, and you go and do it. And then you learn from the mistake. So this is where, how do you know you've made a mistake? This is where you need a good buddy who you can show the picture to and won't laugh, but will tell you what's wrong.
Yeah, that's criticize you, isn't it? And
Yeah.
the best judge is your partner, isn't it?
Unfortunately, yes.
They'll be so frank and true about it.
I know. It can be very hurtful, can't it?
Yeah, but it does help. It does help.
Absolutely.
It does help.
So if you're being a photographer, yes, use social media by all means and learn from other people, learn from YouTube. It's a very, very good resource. But share your thoughts and your pictures with your friends and family, and find out if they're reacting to it the way you expect them to react. Because I found in the past that what was in my head and I thought I'd achieved, no one else can see in my picture. And whose fault is that? Initially, I blamed other people for being stupid and not seeing what I saw. But the truth is, it's because I hadn't explained it well enough in my composition or whatever it might be. And I think this is why, retrospectively, when you ask me the question, and I look back at the pictures that succeed for me, all of them are simple.
Mhm.
They're not complicated. It's 1, 2, or 3 objects in a simple background, clear environment,
But it
and
captures.
there's no mistaking what it is.
But it captures the people's view, isn't it?
Yeah. And so simplicity, good composition, and if you try and overthink it, you'll be, in my view, like the sort of abstract paintings where I look at them and I have no idea what they're about. I do my best, but I have no idea what they're about.
It's just quite really, you don't want to confuse people, isn't it? You want them to appreciate what you have, isn't it?
Yeah, because the thing is that when you are showing people a photo, they weren't there at the time.
Mhm.
They don't know the people involved. They don't know where you were. They don't know why you took it.
That's true.
And you're saying, isn't this great? I go, why would it be great, David? What's exciting about it? Why would I be excited? I wasn't there. And so this is where the photos that work talk to as broad a spectrum of people as possible at multiple levels.
Mhm.
And this is where sharing with people and saying, do you like this? and being prepared for them to say no and tell you why not, and then try and recompose or whatever till people do like it. And then you know that you're speaking through your images to other people.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? That's great. Thank you very much.
My
So
pleasure.
so much learning, so much experience, and it's great to see you again, my good friend. And thank you for your time. And hopefully, after all of this pandemic lockdowns, I could visit your one of your displays and bring
Oh, yes.
because Abby's also into drawing now. She preferred drawing now than photography. So he starts doing painting, but I think this painting will finish by 10 years time. It's quite big, though. So big, we only started with the background.
Oh, really?
No foreground, no subject at all. So I'm hoping one day I could bring her one of your exhibits, paintings or photography. Also, I want to attend one of your speakership again, learn from you again. So thank you again, my good friend, for your time, and stay safe always. Say hi to the family. God bless to you.
And you and yours, Caesar. Thank you for inviting me. Been a
Thank you.
delight.
It's my honor and pleasure. Thank you again. This is Cesar, martial artist, photographer, and a dad. Thank you very much to each and everyone.